There we go. Welcome everybody to our second virtual Marketing Lancashire Partners meeting. I'm not sure we ever believed we'd still be here in the virtual world when we had our last one, but it is what it is, and here we are. So I'm going to kick straight off by inviting Rachel, who's Chief Executive at Marketing Lancashire, to welcome everybody and give us a bit of an intro today.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope I've successfully turned myself off mute. Lovely to have so many of you here today. I'll confess, Maria, Vicky and I were wondering whether to go ahead with this meeting at the end of last week when we saw the new restrictions kind of coming down the line. And obviously just gutted really to still be doing this virtually and still be in this situation so much further on than where we thought we would be in October. So, you know, very much just want to be here for you. Maria said that the chat functionality is there. It is. Please do ask questions, but also please post any thoughts and comments. We're trying to gather some intelligence at the moment to go back to government with in reaction to the announcement of the different tier levels. Obviously, Lancashire being in tier 2 leaves us in similar levels of restrictions that we were already in. In actual fact, you can now have people in your garden, which we weren't able to do prior to tier 2 being announced. Our biggest fear, I suppose, is that we might get moved into tier 3 and how much notice would be given to destinations that are going to be moved into tier 3 if they are. So we're calling for some clarity on that, but also we want to get a sense of what it means to you as businesses being in tier 2, or what your concerns would be about moving into tier 3. Tier 3 obviously opens up some extra levels of support, but also it shuts a number of businesses down entirely. And also it has the potential to shut even more based on consultation. So there seems to be quite a lot of flexibility and uncertainty associated with tier 3 as well. So yes, at the moment we're broadly glad that Lancashire has managed to be classified in tier 2. And obviously we want to stay that way and hopefully move back towards tier 1. But we do have to be very honest that, you know, we do have high levels here in the county. So I think we're trying to get ourselves prepared for what might happen. So we are probably going to ping round another business survey. Please forgive us. I know you probably feel totally bombarded by surveys to be completing to demonstrate the impact, and we've been shouting long and loud now for a significant amount of time, but it is really key to us that we understand what the difference is to you as businesses in terms of being in tier 2 or being in tier 3. So please do feedback to us. We'll make the survey as short and as practical as possible so it doesn't take you long to complete. But the more voices we can have that we can then feed back in, not just to DCMS and to Bays and to Number 10, but to Visit Britain as well, because, you know, we do have regular contact with them and want to very much make clear the impact that these restrictions are having on the sector in our county. So just before we go on, I'll read this question here. So company tier 2, this is from Marketing Lancashire. Okay, Maria's just specified, I thought it was a question, giving you some extra intelligence. So yeah, please do get in touch. I know that the team is, you know, trying to get around calling everybody over, you know, has been doing so over the last few months and will continue to do so. But please do just give us a call or send us an email, partake in the survey. We very much want to hear these views so that we can feed them back in to all the various channels that we try to. So thank you for joining us today. I will now pass back to Maria so that she can, I think she's going to pass on to Vicky now, but good to see you.
You jump straight in, Vicky.
Hello everybody, I'm Vicky. I'm the Marketing and Partnerships Director here at Marketing Lancashire. I'm just going to give you an update on some of the activity that we've been doing over the last few months. Obviously last time we had a virtual meeting, I told you all about the Enjoy Lancashire at Home campaign that we'd been running and how we'd been trying to promote those businesses who had diversified their product in some way. So maybe they were offering a home delivery service or doing something a little bit differently. So that obviously has evolved a little bit over the course of the last few months as things have been able to reopen. So I'm just going to share my screen. Here we go. So you should be able to see my slides in a second. So just to give you an overview of the kind of things that we've been doing since then. So since that point in April, we've sent out a further 18 newsletters to consumers. They go out to our database, which has got about 14,000 people on it. We've done them on a whole range of different topics. So these ones that are examples here, one that we did around redefining romance, which was aimed specifically at people who had who were traditionally wedding venues, who obviously haven't had a lot of weddings happening this summer. So to try and help and fill some of those gaps that they may have in their bookings over summer for people to go and have a romantic break. Then we've had some about family time, and then one there specifically highlighting the Eat Out to help out. But we've been trying to communicate on a regular basis with consumers, and we've seen an uplift in numbers of people that are subscribing to that from within Lancashire as well, because people are trying to find out very much what's happening on their doorstep and happening hyper locally. Our average open rate on our emails is 28%, which is also is really good. But if you're not already signed up to our visitor email, then I suggest that you go to visitlancashire.com and sign up to that, because there's some useful updates, especially because you're all living and working here, with things that are going on. We've also had a large campaign running called Redefining Lancashire. This has been running from a county-wide perspective, so not just around tourism. It has been, we have redefininglancashire.com, in addition to the redefining pages on Visit Lancashire. From a wider perspective, we have redefining lifestyle, culture, tasty, innovation, study and travel, and they are all the subsectors of Lancashire as a whole, and looking at how we are going to redefine those. When we were coming up with the idea behind this campaign, we didn't want something that said it was finished. So that's why we've not gone with redefined. We are still very much in a state of flux. And as Rachel has already said, we didn't still expect to be sat where we are at this particular point. We're still very much redefining, especially if things happen with those tiers in the next couple of days. But this campaign has had 20,000 page views across visitlancashire.com and also on redefininglancashire.com. Our social media reach to date has been 3.9 million, which is amazing for that particular hashtag. And we've also got assets that you can customize for your own business. So if, for example, you wanted some social banners, or you wanted some email banners, or you wanted something to go on your website, then we can help. There is a toolkit available on our website where you can download those assets for you to use, because we want as many people to have this as possible. But similarly, if there is something specific that you have in mind or that you want us to create for you, then we can also do that. We've worked with a number of businesses and events and things that are coming up to create specific assets for them as well. So just get in touch if there's anything that you would like us to help badge up. The redefining, click the right button on my computer. So as part of this particular campaign, we were successful in securing some funding from the government for a media buy to push the Lancashire redefining message out a little bit further. So this campaign focused on anywhere within a 2-hour drive time of Lancashire, which actually ended up being quite a skewed little funny patch because of all the local lockdowns that were in place at the time. But we did end up with a press campaign. This is an example of an advert and editorial that went into the Yorkshire Post, and then we also had adverts that ran in the Liverpool Echo and also in the Carlisle News and Post. We also had digital display campaign that ran, and social campaign as well. With the social, And the digital, that included video assets. So we had a lovely fly through over Williamson Park, and again with the Singing Ringing Tree in Burnley, and we also had the beach huts at St Anne's. So we're still waiting for the results to come back from the Cabinet's media buying office for this campaign. But it's great that messaging for Lancashire was out there over the end of summer. Then looking at our social media, as I've already said, our Redefining Lancashire campaign has had a social reach to date of 3.9 million. We'd love it if you can keep pushing and using that hashtag in anything that you've got going on. See You Soon Safely, which was the campaign we were just about to launch last time we met, has had a total social reach of just under 90,000. We've been doing a lot of competitions during lockdown, so we have given away a bit of everything from nights in shepherd's huts to overnight stays in hotels to tickets at Gisborne Park. And these competitions have performed really, really well for us. Some of them have had absolutely phenomenal reach, and the average reach of them has been just over 17,000. If you have got anything that you would like to offer for us to give away on our social media, it's all completely free in terms of the promotion for you guys. So just let myself or one of the team know, and we'll gladly push those competitions out on social media. We've also been doing a really big push around late availability and special offers. Obviously, people have been changing their plans quite close to the wire. So we have had businesses that we've helped to push out a last minute availability over the summer, and similarly we might be able to help coming into half term as well if people need to change their plans for whatever reason. So just let us know if you do have any late availability or cancellations that come up, and we can post that through our social channels. We've had really good results with that getting booked very quickly as a result of being pushed out through us as well. We're also really asking people to make sure that your listing on our website is up to date. Some of you may have used some of the downtime to do some work and might have some new images as a result, or you might have some special offers that you want us to promote. Just have a look at that listing that you've got with us, and just make sure that we're selling your business in the best possible way, and that you're maximising that membership with us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can all see my face. And I just had a couple of other updates from the comms team as well. So in terms of our press and media trips, the restrictions that have kind of been in place with COVID have impacted quite significantly on media visits since March. Several journalists have postponed their visits now until spring 2021, and some of those, or all of those that had already taken place, because we managed to shoehorn a few really big names in earlier in the year, they have postponed or delayed the publication. So they're titles like the Mirror, the Star, the Times, the Mail on Sunday, Cycling Plus and the Daily Telegraph. So we will have some really fantastic content out there when this gets published. We have continued to supply a lot of content. We're still getting a lot of journalist requests, especially for quirky things. So anything that you've got that's new or different or exciting coming up, please send it over to us. And despite the challenges that we're in, we've still managed to get really good coverage this year, this financial year. So we've got circulation to date of around 300 million. Anything that you've got that fits in with that redefining message as well, we're getting asked a lot for content on that from journalists. I've seen there's been an article shared with me today from the Daily Telegraph about how a load of businesses have reinvented the 10 o'clock curfew by going around with donut trolleys and making cocktails and having midnight pantries that people can go and enjoy when they're in their room at 10 o'clock at night. So if there's anything quirky or fun or exciting or different, or any positives that you're able to spin from making the best of a bad situation, please let us know, because that's exactly the kind of content that we're getting media requests for, and also the kind of content that we're able to push up without getting the requests in the first place, because people are genuinely really excited to know what people have got going on and how that's working for them. We've also been supporting a number of TV production and film companies over the summer. So they have included the Hairy Bikers Best of British. That broadcast date is still TBC, but you'll probably have seen from social media, they went all around the Trough of Bowland. And it was a beautiful sunny day as well. So Lancashire will look brilliant. We've helped out with some content around Britain's Got Talent and the world's most scenic railway journeys, which is a Channel 5 programme that's soon to be broadcast. I think most significantly, though, we've helped secure a new TV programme, which is described as First Dates Meets MasterChef. And that's all I know about it, but it sounds fascinating. And that's called Love Bites. Yes, that's right, Love Bites. And that's begun filming in Holmes Mill in Clitheroe. So we're really excited to see how that turns out as well. We're also busy working on Lancashire Day at the moment. So we're currently working on an engagement plan and seeking partners to support our usual great Lancashire Day giveaway. So we normally give away a huge bundle of prizes with a competition every hour on the hour, which has got phenomenal amount of exposure. This year, we're focusing our Lancashire Day activity around Lancashire spirit and resilience, and especially on the people who've helped the county through a really challenging year. So date for your diary, 27th of November. And please send any Lancashire Day activities, events or menus or offers or anything else that you've got going on to us so that we can include on our Lancashire Day pages on visitlancashire.com. One thing that I forgot to mention when I was on the marketing campaigns was just about our international activities. So you'll know from previous meetings, hopefully, that we're involved in a few Discover England Fund campaigns. And a couple of those are continuing this year. So work's just getting underway on those. And they are England Originals, which sees 16 heritage cities from across England being packaged up. And normally this is promoted to an American millennial market. So there is an itinerary that you can buy for $535, which takes you from Chester up to Carlisle via Lancaster. Now, obviously, the US millennials aren't going to be travelling to England this year. So that project has received some additional funding to help us broaden the appeal to UK millennials. So it's fantastic that all this work that's gone on in the last couple of years to cement this campaign is now going to be rolled out domestically as well. So work is very well underway for that, and we in Marketing Lancashire are going to be leading on the social media element of all of that campaign, which is really exciting for us. And then the other one is England's Coast, which, as the name would suggest, ties up all the products along the coastline in England. That is typically marketed to Northern European couples and families, so people from Germany and the Netherlands and France predominantly. But equally, these markets are not likely to be travelling to the UK at the moment. So that particular project is also being marketed domestically this year, and I've got a meeting tomorrow morning to look at those plans and look at how we're going to do that. So it's fantastic that all of this product has been brought together and worked on for the last couple of years, and that we're hopefully going to see the profile of both of those things defined and pushed out to a domestic audience as well. Just have a quick look through my list. I think I covered everything. I always feel like I've got a lot of stuff to cover, so I'm going to pass back to Maria so she can introduce her next guest. Thank you.
Thanks, Vicky. That was a bit of a whirlwind tour of everything that's been going on. It has been somewhat a crazy few months, and I know it has been for everybody, and I don't think 15 minutes really justifies everything we've been working on. So thank you for compressing it in such an express way. I'm going to introduce now the first one of our guests today. So just moving on to Brexit, and one of the fallouts, I suppose, of Brexit is new immigration laws and employment, and how that's going to impact us as employers. So we've got Angela Barnes here today from Napthans to just talk through some of that with us. So Angela, you're very welcome. I'm just trying to see, you are unmuted. Are you able to share your screen, Angela?
I will do my best. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Can you see that okay?
Perfect.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much for inviting me along today. It's nice to see everyone virtually, albeit in the midst of this global pandemic, so it could be better circumstances. But I think more and more businesses are turning their mind back to Brexit because it is imminent now, and to look at some of the potential problems with it, because especially in terms of the angle that I'm coming from in terms of your workforce, the new immigration system isn't necessarily good news for a lot of businesses. So I do try and help my clients to navigate through the system and see the ways in which potentially the new system could work to help you and your businesses. So again, thank you for inviting me along. I am from Napthans Solicitors, and I'm an employment lawyer, but I'm also an immigration solicitor. So that's where I'll be coming to speak to you today about immigration matters rather than employment matters. Now, I will try and keep within my allocated slot. There's an awful lot to get through. So as I say, I'll try and keep it nice and neat. But if you do have any follow-up questions, my email address is on the slide. Please feel free to drop me an email afterwards. So just in terms of what we'll look at, we're going to firstly look at what the system is now. So what's the current position for EU workers and indeed for non-EU workers? So from America or China, what's the position for them working in the UK at the moment? And then I'm going to look at the changes which will take effect from the 1st of January 2021 and what their implications might be, and how you can try and navigate that new system. Okay. So as I've said, we'll firstly look at what is the current position and focusing on EU workers first. So as I'm sure you'll all be aware, we're currently in the transition period of Brexit. So if we cast our minds back to January of this year, when we were having the negotiations, and the UK then entered into the withdrawal agreement, which essentially gave the UK 11 months of what was supposed to be breathing space to try and agree the various trade deals with the various EU countries. I mean, not transpired to be breathing space, as we know, but fundamentally what that means for immigration is during that transition period, so we're talking the period from February until the 31st of December this year, free movement, to all intents and purposes, continues. So there's no restriction on EU workers and their families coming to the UK and working as normal. So if you are a business or a business owner and you do employ EU nationals at the moment, nothing is changing up until the 31st of December. So in terms of document checking and right to work, it's business as usual until the 31st of December, or until we hear something further from the government. Okay, now in terms of non-EU workers, I'm just going to briefly mention this because I'm not sure how many of you and your businesses are already sponsoring non-EU workers to come and work in the country. But I will just briefly say that that is an option available to you currently. So if you want to employ someone from America and they are able to get here, for example, you can get a sponsor license and you can sponsor individuals from outside of Europe and outside of the UK to come and work in this country. And that's not going to change come December. Yes, there will be a new immigration system. Some of the rules are going to change slightly, but the broad concept of bringing in non-EU workers to work in this country will broadly stay the same throughout the end of the transition period and into the next year. Okay, so that's the current position. Now, I'm sure some of you will have seen in the news about the EU settlement scheme, and that's something that is currently open to EU workers to apply for. So as I've said there, it's for EU, EEA or Swiss citizens or their family members, and it's really to formalise or legalise, if you like, their stay in the UK beyond the 31st of December 2020. So crucially, they have to be resident here before the 31st of December 2020, but once they've got their paperwork, they've done their application, then they can stay here indefinitely, depending on what type of status they're granted. And again, you may have seen some controversy in the news with this, that individuals, so EU citizens, have been applying for this system and they haven't been getting the status that they were expecting to get. So if I was an EU citizen working in the UK currently, and was going to be here up until the 31st of December, then I can apply for the EU settlement scheme. I will be granted either settled or pre-settled status. So if I've been here continuously for 5 years or more, I will be granted settled status. And if it's less than 5 years, it will be pre-settled status. And crucially, you've got to be continuously resident for that 5-year period. And what that means is broadly, I can't have had any absence of 6 months or more in a 12-month period. There are certain exemptions there, but that's broadly the position. So as I say, you've probably seen some of the stories in the news where people have been granted maybe pre-settled status when they were expecting settled status. But once they have that settled status, they can then go on to apply for British citizenship, and then obviously they've got exactly the same rights as a British citizen would have. The application closes on the 30th of June 2021, so even though they have to be here by the end of the year, they can continue to apply. And I think they're taking quite a soft touch approach with the deadline of the 30th of June. That's certainly what the rumour is, because they don't want another scandal on their hands. So they're going to have to be very careful about how they actually close that process. So if you are employing EU workers and the settlement scheme is potentially an option for them, it is a worrying time for them at the moment. I've had a lot of clients telephone me to say that, you know, that their employees are worried about this and what they need to do. You know, we know that I think nearly 4 million have now applied, 4 million EU citizens have now applied for this scheme. So it's very well accepted. A lot of people have done it, but there is still that worry and that anxiety. So what I've found a lot of clients are doing, they're firstly finding out how many of their employees are impacted by this. So do you have any EU workers? And if you do have EU workers, you know, is the EU settlement scheme something that they want to do or feel that they need to do? Can you support them in that? So the government have issued a range of pamphlets and leaflets and posters that you could display around the workplace to tell your workforce how they can go about completing this process. And this, you know, this is a 30-minute application form. It's not particularly difficult, especially if the individuals have got national insurance numbers. It's quite straightforward. But are you doing as much as you can to help them through that time? And crucially, on the other side of things, don't force or press an EU worker to apply for this scheme. At the moment, they don't need, this isn't a right to work check. They don't need to give you this evidence in order to legitimately be in the country. So be careful, because obviously with a risk of race discrimination as well, you don't want to be singling people out and telling them that they should be applying for this scheme. So it's a careful balance, but as I've said, if you can be a supportive employer in this situation and offer guidance and support to those individuals who need it. Okay. So what's going to change after the 31st of December, and what about those EU workers in particular who arrive after that date? And this is where the situation gets very tricky. For those people who are here now, the process is very straightforward, but after the 31st of December, it's going to get a lot more difficult for EU workers to come and work in the UK. And this is part of the problem that businesses in all sorts of sectors are facing. So hospitality, agriculture is a big one that's been in the news as well. Hospitality and manufacturing, warehousing, you know, those are the sectors that are going to be hit hard when the new system is introduced. And the difficulty is that obviously the Conservatives have tried to give a message that they will be reducing overall net migration. And the way they've done this, they haven't stopped, or they're not seeking to prevent the very highly paid or very highly skilled EU workers and non-EU workers from coming into the country. Where they seem to be hitting hardest is what they've termed as the lower skilled or the lower paid workers. And that's, as I've said, that's why it's such a tricky time for all sorts of my clients at the moment to try and source their labour market after the 31st of December. Okay, so what's the new system going to look like? So this is the system that comes in on the 1st of January 2021. How will it look different? Now, we were told back in January last year that the new points-based system would be a complete overhaul of the existing system. We were told there might be an Australian points-based system that worked in a particular way. In fact, what the government have done is a bit of a refresh of the existing system. So the existing system was for non-EU workers, obviously. The biggest change is that it will now be for EU and non-EU workers, and it will apply to them equally and fairly. So if you're coming from Italy, it will be no different from if you're coming from China. That's the intention, and that's how the system is set to work. So I'll very briefly just go through the changes to the system and how then it may be a useful tool to your business if you feel that you can bring workers into the country via this 5-tier system. So very briefly, tier 1 is for very high net worth individuals. So the way I've used this in the past is if, for example, in America, there's a businessman or woman who wants to come into the country, invest a load of money, have a brilliant business idea, set up a chain of restaurants, that sort of thing. The government will roll out the red carpet to those sorts of individuals. So it does work, and it works very well for the right person, but I appreciate it's not open to everyone, and you're not going to get your bulk of your workforce via the tier 1 route. Tier 2 I'm going to come back to, because that's the one where there's really a lot of detail to go into. I'm just going to cover it briefly, but we will come back to it at the end of this slide. Tier 3, this was originally for low skilled workers, but it was never brought into force, and there's no intention of bringing it into force. So it's there, it could be, it's able to be used, but it never has been, and I doubt it will. Tier 4 is for students. So if a student wants to come and study at university, that's the way that they come into the UK currently if they're a non-EU national, and how they will come in if they're a EU national going forward. And then finally, tier 5 is the youth mobility and temporary workers category. And this works very well to get a lower paid individual into the country actually at the moment. So for example, if it's an Australian citizen, they're a young person, they want to come and experience life in the UK for a couple of years, we have a reciprocal arrangement with Australia where we can bring someone in from Australia, and equally we can send people back there. They can work for a couple of years and then they have to leave, but there's not the same restriction in terms of salary and skill level. So going forward, perhaps the government will do a similar arrangement with some of the EU countries, or even all of the EU countries, where it's a very temporary fix, but at least you'll get some lower paid workforce into the country if you need that. Okay, so going back to tier 2, so this could be a useful tool for you as business owners going forward if you need to recruit from Europe and indeed beyond Europe. It's now called the skilled worker category. And what essentially happens is, as a company, you need to secure a sponsor license, and using that sponsor license, you can then bring people into the country to work for you, as long as you act in a quasi-parental role and give them a job and monitor where they are and what they're doing and report that back to the border agency. It is in a very short way how it works. And now they have made skilled worker routes, so tier 2, more accessible starting 1st of January. So I've said there, RQF level 3 for skills. So the individual has to score a certain number of points, but they've made it easier to score those points. So RQF level 3 is equivalent to A-level equivalent to A-level, whereas previously it was RQF level 6, which was degree level. So again, I appreciate it's not going to be applicable to every worker, but they have tried to reduce this skill level to make it more accessible. The individuals still have to pass an English language test or be from an English speaking country. And then there's certain requirements on salary as well. So again, whereas currently you can pay an EU worker the minimum wage and there'd be no restriction on that, there's certain salary thresholds that you're going to have to comply with if you're going to employ someone under a tier 2 or skilled worker visa. And that salary level, as I've said there, is 25,600, or the going rate for that job, which you can find by looking on the internet what the going rate for a job is. So I don't want to go into too much detail because I appreciate it's just a snapshot, but suffice to say, it is easier than it once was to bring people into the country under this system, but it's still not without difficulty, especially for those people who are at a lower skill level and on a lower salary. Okay. And to look at the last slide, these are just really things to get you thinking about how you can prepare for the 1st of January, whether you need a licence to employ people under tier 2. So, do an audit. As I said before, do you know how many EU workers you've got or non-EU workers you've got? And is it something, are you going to want to use EU workers going forward even? Have you planned for that? And if so, you're going to have to think about how you're going to do that from the 1st of January. Equally, what would be the impact of losing your EU workforce? So how would that affect certain parts of your business? Could your business cope without your EU workers? And if it can't, then you're going to have to look at other options. In terms of the EU settlement scheme, as I've said, try and support your workers. Don't press them, but I think there's a lot of worry and angst about the system and what they need to be doing. So if you can support your workers, then that will definitely help. Just an outside point there, I've said in the green box in the middle, EU workers in other jurisdictions, it won't be applicable for many of you, but I have had clients who ring me up and say that they've got somebody working out in Italy, for example, at the moment. Are they going to be able to carry on working in Italy? Again, we don't yet know what that's going to look like and the impact of it, but it's worth thinking about because that could become a problem after the 1st of January. Other options, can you employ EU workers now? So if you know that you're going to need them in January when the system gets much more difficult, can you employ them now and bring them into the country now? It's, again, just something to think about. And also, what about diversifying your talent pool? And by this, I mean, it's really doing what the government is trying to encourage you to do, which is to use the UK labour supply better, I suppose. So Travelodge did this very well in 2019 when they changed their recruitment campaign. So they did things like, have term time only contracts so that more parents would, working mums or working dads would go back to work, or they'd have school hour contracts. So all sorts of things that you could do to try and just make more use of the UK workforce. Again, increase automation. It's not necessarily something that you can do, but that's what the government is suggesting to reduce the reliance on the EU workforce. And then finally, think about a license. If it is something that you think your business needs or would benefit from, if you do intend to employ EU and non-EU workers from January, you are going to need a license to do that. So it's not cheap. It's administratively quite burdensome, but it gives you this global opportunity of workforce that you wouldn't otherwise have if you're relying just on a UK workforce. Whistle stop tour, I think that's it for me. I'm not sure how long I've spoken for, but apologies if I've gone over. But any more questions, I'm happy to take them, and there's my email address.
That's great. Thank you so much, Angela. Definitely a whistle stop tour, and something that I personally am not close to at all. So I think we really appreciate the update there. And I know a lot of our businesses, our hospitality partners, do have EU employees. So I hope that is useful to some of you. The flow chart at the end there, I think, was particularly poignant in thinking about that process. And I've got a couple of speakers coming up now who want to talk to you about employment opportunities for UK residents, and a couple of schemes that are going on at the moment. So first of all, I'm going to come to Jen Hill from East Lancs Chamber, who's going to talk to us about the government Kickstart scheme for funded work placements. So hi Jen, nice to see you.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I've no slides because I've said I'll keep this really, really short. What I'll try and do is give a very, very brief overview based on some FAQs that we've found are becoming quite common, and then happy to take any questions or wait till the end, or if you stick things in the chat, then I'll try to deal with them throughout the rest of the meeting. Basically, Kickstart is a government funded £2 billion scheme based around getting young people aged 16 to 24 off long-term unemployment and benefits and into a fully funded work placement within businesses across the UK. Basically, all you need to be able to commit to be classed as eligible as a business is to offer them 25 hours a week minimum, for which they'll be paid minimum wage, for 6 months. There's absolutely no limit or minimum as to how many placements you can give. There's a general misconception that you've got to commit to 30, which has been really badly communicated by the DWP. Basically, if you've got 30 placements, you can go direct onto the government site and apply. Most of us, let's face it, won't have 30 roles sat waiting to be filled. So if you've got anything less than 29, you then need to find a registered representative, which they're calling a gateway. East Lancashire Chamber, I'm pleased to say, is one of those accepted representatives, as are most of the other chambers across the country, along with a smattering of other people. Basically, what we do is then take the application for anything between 1 and 29, and when we get to 30, we can put the application in on behalf of all of those people as a sort of cooperative, if you like. The sort of spirit of the scheme is that it's aimed at these young people after 6 months have skills and experience that they would not normally have had. Another misconception is a little bit that these are the sort of unemployable end of society. Yes, there will be some people who've really struggled to find themselves a job. However, if you consider the current crisis and the situation that we're in, we're also going to find people who've just left school and college and are really relatively employable but have absolutely no experience. They're coming into an economy with no jobs effectively. So I strongly suspect that there will be some real gems in terms of work ethic and skill set and academia even. So that's the sort of spirit of the scheme, is that 6 months down the line they either go back to the job centre but in a better position with a stronger looking CV, or in an ideal world they're kept on permanently with the company who provided the placement for them in the first place, although that's not, you're not obliged to keep them on, that's not part of the agreement. Just to be clear as well, there is a £1,500 grant that's available on day one of a placement starting, which is paid via us to the business. That's for things like setup costs, maybe they need a laptop or a desk because you simply don't have one, and also that's got to be evidenced as having been invested in the young person. So there'll also be a requirement for offering them training, whether it's relevant to your role or just purely for their own benefit and development. So for instance, you might have somebody who you're putting into a business admin job sat in an office, but you still think, actually, I'll spend some of that wraparound money on a health and safety at work course or something similar, because they're available and it's effectively free money. And out of the good of your own heart, basically 6 months down the line, that person hopefully doesn't enter back onto the unemployment market and get back into that system. So if you've any questions, I am more than happy to answer them. There's an awful lot of unknowns at the moment because it's a brand new scheme. I think it's probably worthwhile saying that there's no end date or deadline to speak of. What they've basically said is we've put £2 billion out there. When it's gone, it's gone. So they're sort of estimating that it'll last until March 2022. But the interest that we've had so far is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds across the country of businesses saying, yeah, that's perfect for us. You know, we're not in a position to recruit. or potentially they're a one-man band and they've never thought to employ somebody before, and this is just their way of giving something back, but also getting an extra pair of hands for 6 months. The other thing is there's no limit to the number of applications you can put in. So you could apply for one person now, and if it's going really well in 3 or 4 months, you can come back to me and apply for another one. You could also have a rolling cycle of potentially up to 5, 10, 15, whatever. Equally, you could see how the 6 months goes, and then when you decide whether or not to keep that person on, you can come back and apply for the next 6 months. Effectively, you're committing to taking somebody from, you can't advertise the role yourself, you're taking somebody from the job centre's databases who they've deemed eligible and at risk of long-term unemployment. And that pretty much sums it up. That's real nutshell stuff, because I said I'd keep it so short, but happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, that pretty much sort of covers most of it. The main misconception is that people are reading that they have to have 30, so they're thinking it's not for them.
Jen, thanks. Rachel's just popped in chat there. When would positions be available to start?
The applications are available. They sort of launched the scheme in early September. They are a little bit behind. I think they weren't quite ready for how fast the Chamber of Commerce network can get something up and running. So they effectively launched it, I think, thinking it'll take a month or so for people to catch on. As they've found out to their cost, if you launch something with the Chamber network on a Monday, it's up and active by Tuesday morning. So we've put hundreds of applications through. What they've said is that at the moment they're working to a 4-week turnaround. I understand that to mean that that's when they'll come back to each application and say, yes, it's approved. We'll put you in touch with the relevant job centres. These are your candidates. You need to start that interview process. However, I heard back on the first application I'd put in yesterday, which is only 3 weeks. So in theory, I would work off 1st of November is fairly realistic, depending on the role. Obviously, it will depend on the role and where you are in the country and what the labour market looks like, the unemployed market, I guess, and the pool of people that you've got to choose from. But I would have thought if you were early getting an application in, then there's a good chance you could be in position by the 1st of November, I would hope. There's still quite a few questions and it's all still a bit woolly, and everything we go back to and ask the DWP is clearly the first time they've thought about it. So we're sort of...
You're going to put in chat, aren't you, Jen, a link to the scheme on the East Lancs website and how people can access more info?
I will, absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And then moving on from Jen, on a similar topic, we've got Andy Iredale, who is from You Explore, and he's going to talk to us about the role of the rollout of Start in Lancashire, which is a similar sort of scheme, isn't it, Andy, looking at virtual work experience opportunities. So Andy, over to you.
Yeah, there's lots of links to labour supply. I'll just share my screen. So I'm based in Lytham, so the last 30 years I grew up in Lancashire, and the last 30 years my careers have been in Lancashire, which can help when we come out of this COVID, to help build relationships with employers, schools, etc. So the company I work for is You Explore. We provide an EdTech careers platform nationally. So this is the number of schools and young people. What's happened is the regions have said the national platform is a great tool, but we want to shout about where we are. We want to shout about our locality, the economic priorities, the jobs, the education providers, because we don't just want to be leaking the most successful to London, whatever it might be, and young people missing opportunities. The other objective is young people from an earlier age get a greater sense of what they want to be, what the impact of that will be, and what they need to do to get there, to manage their career. So various regional contracts have cropped up. Blackpool, I'm going to show you. I've been working with Blackpool for 18 months now. And this is the platform about to be relaunched for Blackpool. So what I'm going to be talking to you about is, imagine this, but it's for Lancashire. So this is the Blackpool version. It's a version of this for Lancashire. What it is, it will be in all the schools in Lancashire, and there's an incentive for all the teachers to be using it. And it's got 4 big journeys, if you like, within the tech. It's to helping them manage study, helping them understand and explore industries and jobs and careers, how they can stand out from the crowd, interview techniques, work placements, volunteering, whatever it might be. And finally, it's the application process, how to get that job, how to get that place at university. Thank you for inviting me here, because employers are at the heart of this. So if I start with the employer angle for you, so these are these same journeys that we saw below. So one of the explorations where young people go through is employers. And so what we've done with the employer insight, so this is Blackpool, remember, this is coming for Lancashire to be launched just before Christmas, is young people have a directory of the local employers who would like to be exposed to young people. So these are the employers that have signed up in Blackpool. So this is free for employers to list themselves, to talk about their business so that young people are aware of it. To find out more, a link to the website, and we've included a map function so young people can see what's convenient to them. The next stage of this, if you like, is where we're adding value to this is another page in the platform. Employers have been supporting us, and this is what's going to be happening in Lancashire, by producing a little video like this with a laptop or with a mobile phone, and setting little challenges online for young people. So what would a day at the office look like? What are the sorts of things we do? And here's a practice task for you, so you can see if you enjoy it or not when planning what you want to do. So this is the page for Blackpool, where there are a range of work experience insights which have been curated for young people. I'll just go back to the thing, I'll just show you one. So these can be quite modest affairs. It's not high production values, it's not a corporate video, it's really quite human and earthy and meaningful, which is great. So I'll just pick one of them. So this is a local TV and media company. So young people click on the virtual work experience, the VWEX, and it typically starts with the owner of that business talking about the business and what they do and their journey and what they did to get to that position, what the roles are like. And then I worked with Susanna to design some tasks. So in here, there was a task about talking about a brief from a client and techniques on creating a mood board to meet that video, because it's a challenge. There's a challenge to produce a little video with your phone about, in this case, it actually is, it's a hospitality client, and how you would go about producing that with examples of storyboards. So with Susanna, quite a lot of tasks, some complexity, which I helped her with, but it could be something very simple indeed, or it could just be a 3-minute video of you talking about your business and talking about the opportunities in that business. We are doing, for some employers are wanting to offer a more real, if you like, work experience, in which case when the student works through each of these lessons, at certain points, there is a live one of these. There's a live Zoom call where groups of students can ask questions, show their work, upload their work, and get feedback from those employers. So that's the VWEX. I guess for you as one is businesses, but also as parents. So I'll just finish by showing you the other functions of the site so that young people can explore industries. The industries would be listed, the industries which are a priority for Lancashire. In this case, this is what we did for Blackpool, helping people understand the region. And then young people can explore the data and the realities behind that sector with example videos. So videos that you or your team will have created for that directory or for a virtual work experience, similarly can crop up here as a teaser to give a real sense of the sector. Businesses listing, and then we're helping young people capture data that their careers teachers, their teachers in school can use when they're having one-to-ones with them. Then it links to this government data as well. All this is government data that we've made pretty, I hope, if you like. And then it gives the labour market information data for different roles. It then shows the strengths required by those roles, things, subjects, vocational or academic, and some of the other characteristics of those jobs. And then it links to live vacancies, which will be live vacancies for that role in Lancashire. So that's the product, if you like. I'll just stop sharing my screen. The opportunity is aiming to have this ready before Christmas. I can use Maria and Rachel as a communication conduit to you to say, would you like a free entry on this? Would you like to get in touch with us and potentially do a 3-minute virtual work experience or a little video profile of your business? Or would you like to do something more lengthy? Or potentially, with the support of Rachel and Maria, do you know what? I could just upload, I could receive those details from Rachel and Maria, and we could just do it all behind the scenes. We could just promote your business automatically, give you an opportunity to opt out, if you like, just to make sure people are understanding you and understanding their county and how we'd like to keep them in the county. That was me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Andy. That's great. And again, another opportunity to showcase yourself as an employer and access some young skills, really, and prove what a good career in hospitality can be as well, I suppose, which I know recruitment's always a discussion within hospitality particularly, so I think it's a really good opportunity to you know, showcase what kind of roles we have to offer. So that's brilliant, thank you. Have next speaking and our last guest of the day, we have Sal from Booths. I don't know, Sal, if you've managed to connect though. Are we here?
I am, yes.
Hooray!
Hello.
Are you able to share your screen, Sal?
I am, yes. I've overcome my technical difficulties and I'll be able to share the screen as we speak.
Amazing.
Good afternoon. Great stuff. Great stuff. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be on here, and it's great content and very insightful so far this afternoon. I've just got a little deck to show you all. Just bear me a second. There we go. Can you all see that? Yeah. Just bear with me on sec. There we go. There we go. So, yeah, so just a bit of an introduction. I work for Booths. I've worked for Booths for about 19 months now, and I work for the business-to-business team within Booths. I live in Preston. I've lived in Preston for a while, and I didn't know Booths actually produced anything. I thought they bought everything, but we do produce quite a lot of stock. And I just wanted to share it a little bit with the rest of the team here, just to maybe just highlight what we can do in Lancashire and what we can do in Preston, and with a little bit of provenance and a bit of Lancashire within us as well. And we're very proud Lancashire-based business and been around for a long time. So I'll go through the slide as we speak, and any questions afterwards be more than welcome. So this is our introduction to manufacturing. So this is about Booths. Booths obviously founded 1847, so amidst everything that's gone on in the past, and I can't guarantee at the moment, but we've been around since 1847 and obviously a very proud northern business. But we support local communities across 4 counties of Lancashire, Yorkshire, Cumbria and Cheshire. And we are a 6th generation family business, with Edwin Booth still holding the position of chairman and chief executive officer. Edwin did move away from the business some years ago, and we did fall into some disarray, and he came back in, and we've got a very successful chief operating officer called Nigel Murray, who's ex-Asden, ex-Greggs, but he's been with us about 4 years as well. And you know, we're making strides in the business by being slightly different to the other retailers. And there's just some images there of what we actually do in our factories, which we've got 3 of. So Booths today, 28 stores, 2,700 colleagues and a turnover of £263 million. 1 central office, which is at Ribbleton. And we've got 3 warehouses as well, and 3 manufacturing sites that focus on meat, fruit and veg and ambient goods. So we've got the meat and ambient goods, which is based at Bluebell Way, and the fruit and veg site is based at the docks at Riversway. So in terms of manufacturing, we produce Booths brand products, and one of our wholesale customers also, and we're trying to obviously to deliver that quality, taste and freshness in everything we do manufacture. So a lot of the products you do see in some of our stores are produced by ourselves. At our ambient site at Bluebell Way, we actually roast, grind and pack our own coffees and blend our own loose leaf teas as well. So we've done coffee and tea as a heritage product since day dot, because the business did start off as coffee shops out in Blackpool actually, and we still roast and grind all our own coffee, and it's all hand roasted as well. So it's got a really old-fashioned sort of roaster, and the guy does it all by eye and smell. And we had a few fires over at that depot as well, but it's a lovely smell when you do smell the you know, roasting coffee, and it does waft across everywhere. It's lovely. So we also pack in ambient. We do a wide range of goods such as pasta, rice, nuts, snacks and pulses as well, which we produce for all our own stores. Next we have obviously our, skipped at one too far. Fruit butchers at a Riversway site. So over at the docks, we produce high-care prepared fruit and veg, citrus, top fruit, all head and bulk catering packs. At Riversway, we obviously produce all our own fruit and veg, but we do quite a lot for other customers as well. And our butchers at Bluebell Way make and pack sausages, burgers, processed red meat, and create really nice ready-to-cook range, which you see in some of our stores. So much so that every winter, the whole of the head office ensconced into making pigs in blanket, and we will be doing that very soon for the month of December, just to meet the demand, basically, of pigs in blankets at this time of year. So we produce over the 3 sites 6 days a week, and can develop products to any requirements as well. So in terms of business to business, within Booths manufacturing, there's a B2B department with 2 specific channels. One's wholesale B2B and the other one's retail. The retail B2B channels focuses on finished products sold into other retailers. So it's a finished good. It's sold to a retailer, which is again sold on. So it can be like a garden centre of some description. We're supplying to Amazon, which is a really big category for us, and enjoy nationwide coverage of Booths branded products and some other brands too. We've got about 1,200 lines available via Amazon, and it's available in 13 major cities across the UK. So we're a very small business, and we're proud a Northern Lancashire based business, but there are people in Edinburgh and in Portsmouth buying Booths products, which is really exciting. I'm not sure they know who we are yet, because we are quite small. But yeah, we sell products all around the UK. We're also working with W.H. Smith Travel as a food provider for the UK's first all-electric service station. So that opens next month, and they're planning for around 100 more, which is quite exciting. And we also produce bespoke gift hampers for holiday parks and new home hampers as well. So that's business to business retail. And then in the wholesale channel, which is the one I head up, we supply meat and bulk packs of fruit and veg to several wholesale customers across Lancashire and Cumbria. And we support a lot of the Lancashire schools and hospitals, as well as catering and hospitality businesses. So I think we supply prepared veg and meat to all the Lancashire County Council schools, and quite a lot in Manchester as well. And we cover quite a lot of hospitals in the region as well. And through one of our partners, Ralph Livesey, we support a lot of catering and hospitality businesses as well. We produce private label fruit and veg lines for the retailers also, the main one being Spa. So we produce all the citrus and prepared veg. So the same quality we produce in booths, we just package it up in a different with a different label, and that's for sale in something like 600 Spa shops across the north of England. Again, great quality product at a convenient location. And we've also got the, more or less everything we produce in manufacturing can be produced in booths, wholesale brand and packaging and in larger pack sizes. Because of our size, we're a small business, we can adapt to really almost any customer requirements. And that's probably one of the good things about Booth, is that, no one's too small to deal with. We get the same situation with our suppliers, that sometimes we're not big enough really to deal with, because our volumes are nothing compared to your Asda's, your Morrisons and your Tesco's. But the ones that do take us up are the nice local niche businesses, and it's a reciprocal sort of investment in both parties as well. And we've also got the facility to do MPD work with our customers as well. So really, we just, in a nutshell, wanted to share a little bit about what we do within Booths, because I didn't know all this happened. I didn't know we roasted coffee. I didn't know we produced our own fruit and veg and, packed and everything else. So it was more, and the point about being on this call as well through Maria was really just to showcase what we do, and if anyone wants any further information or questions, I've got my contact details, and I'm sure we can share the slide as well at some other point. So that's my role. If there are any questions or any thoughts you have, feel free to contact me direct. And that's you, Maria.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Sal. And like you say, I think it's one of those things that not many people know that Booths do. So it's good to have that another opportunity on our doorstep for local supply into business as well. And when you're manufacturing in the county too, that's fantastic. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
We've come to the end of our planned meeting now. Has anybody got any questions for anybody at all who's spoken today? There's not much gone up in chat, but please do either wave your hand at me or pop in chat if there's anything you want to ask any of the speakers today. I'm looking at two screens. I can't see there's any hands at all. No? Well, that's fantastic then. Just one more thing that I want to mention to you is that Marketing Lancashire has been successful in being awarded the opportunity to deliver a peer networks cohort, which is it's a government based scheme where we can deliver a cohort of hospitality businesses some peer-to-peer learning opportunities. So we will be sending some information out on that in the next few days. We can take a cohort of around 10 businesses. There are some criteria that those businesses need to meet, but I think many of our hospitality partners will already tick the boxes for those. So we'll be sharing information on that in the next few days. So please keep your eyes open for that, because there should be some good opportunities there. Again, fully funded. And also just to say that Vicky mentioned before that since our last meeting we've sent, I think, did you say 18 partners emails out? We are communicating with you really, really regularly via email, whether it's updates on guidance, changes to guidance. what we're doing, campaign opportunities, and we're doing an awful lot at the moment to support our partners where we can. Please, if you're not receiving those emails, check your junk mail filters, because if you're in partnership with us, you will be on our distribution list. So if you're not receiving them, please let us know, and we can make sure that you are definitely on that distribution list, and that we are sending stuff out to you regularly, because I know from the partners that we've spoken to, they've found some really valuable information in those emails over the last few months. So I think, unless Rachel and Vicky, you've got anything to add, I think we're at a close for our meeting today. So thank you so much for joining us. It really is so positive to see so many people on the call. I know it's a tough time for everybody, so we really do appreciate your time. Thank you very much.